Today's date is October 22nd, 2011, and yesterday I acquired one of the infamous 10 Swiss francs that has appeared all over the internet, and usually in videos relating to Elenin or Nibiru or similar stories. But I finally got a hold of one of these bills, and I guess I'll start off with the history behind this particular bill. I was at a dinner party last night with an elderly couple, and they were going through a collection of money that they had acquired throughout their years of travel. And when I came across this bill, the older lady asked me, why my face dropped and why my facial expressions were so extravagant as to the reaction of this bill. And of course that led to a good 2.5-hour conversation between them and my family as to why there's so much controversy surrounding this bill. There's a lot going on in this bill, so I guess I'm just going to start trying to pick apart things one at a time. Try not to, totally beat it up in regards to other videos that have gone through certain things, but I'm sure I'm going to say things other videos have said. But I'm also going to try to point out some new things that, through a quick YouTube search, that things that people didn't point out, but I'm sure somewhere someone else has. But I'm definitely going to go through them as I see them. So let's start with the bill itself in the center. This is obviously an orbital diagram. There's no debating that. And you can see the comet, which was supposedly Elenin. And then we have the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, everything. And here's the moon surrounding our planet, which is right here. And then we have this portal. And nobody seems to know what that portal is, but we're going to get to that portal a little bit later. And that's something I almost missed, actually. But let's start with this fancy thing right here. People say that this is what light does when it's reflected through several lenses, but it would appear that there are lenses missing at certain points, because light doesn't bend at this point. Light doesn't bend at any angle when it doesn't interrupt anything. But if you look closely, every single one of these disks and every single one of these lines is tangential to these vertical waves. So starting from the very top, you can see this corner is tangential to this wave right here. You can see that right there. And I apologize for the quality of the build. It is old. It has been circulated. This disk is tangential to this wave right here, and it would be tangential to these waves right here if it wasn't covered up by that image. And going down the ladder, you can see that every one of these points is tangential to these waves. Keep scrolling down. Right here, you can see the same thing. Same thing with this disk. Basically, this drawing is quite purposefully put to make these waves tangential to these disks and these lines. None of these disks end in the middle, or I should say in the white space of these lines. All these lines intersect with the center of one of these waves. And I hope YouTube allows the resolution to be high enough that you can actually see what I'm talking about. But as you go down the paper, you can see that these waves get thicker. And scrolling up, they get thinner. So these waves are obviously significantly thinner than the ones at the bottom, at the very far bottom. More about these waves. People say these waves are a way to prevent counterfeiting. It's a very complex design. It's a complex pattern, very hard to duplicate. But I I believe there's more to these waves than what meets the eye. It could possibly be some sort of encoded message, some kind of modulation. But if you scroll down, these waves, they form a circular pattern around the entire bill. At least the ones at the very top that appear to be more horizontal than vertical to the rest of the image. Well, it's one large circle. You can follow the waves all the way around, and then halfway through they change colors gradually, and then they come to this point right here. Now, looking at this point, you can see that you lose the transition. So here we have a green line that turns into a purple line, and a purple line that turns into a green line, and vice versa. And this darker green line turns into a purple line. So if you draw a line straight down, you can see that all these lines change colors as you move down the image. Now, what's even more fascinating about these lines, and at the point where they all seem to intersect and change, that happens to be the center point of this Euler turbine. So let's open this up, scroll up, and you can see the whole turbine. Now we're focusing on the turbine itself. That the center point of this turbine is the point at which these lines change color, right around in this box. See the box that I'm dragging around? I hope YouTube allows the high resolution, or else this is all pointless, but you can see going down where these lines change colors is right through the midpoint of the turbine. I found that rather interesting. Now, let's move on to something else. Scrolling to the very top, we have amongst the fibers this area right here that I'm going to highlight, and you can see several specks of red coloring, or they appear to be dark red or beige coloring. Now, you'd think that that could be some kind of printing issue, and I have yet to see another high resolution video or image to confirm whether or not this is just random splatter. But moving it to this side of the bill, you see fewer of them. So you might think they're random or not, and I'm not that well versed in astronomy, but it would not surprise me if these dots represented a part of the stars in the sky. So if you look up in the sky, these dots might possibly represent a quadrant in the sky. This I cannot confirm, nor can I confirm if these dots exist on other bills. I'll leave that to my fellow YouTubers to do some research to see if other bills have the same exact pattern of dots. I would highly doubt that these dots are here by accident or through misprint, because with the technology used to create these plates, it appears that these dots are placed here with a reason. And if you look at other regions of the bill, you really don't see these dots and any other really pattern like that. Like at the bottom of this white space, you don't see any of these dots, and around the edges, these dots don't exist. But it just so happens that you do see these dots in this white space. What this white space is, no matter how I tweak the filters in Photoshop, there's actually a watermark here of the gentleman that's on the back side of the bill, but there is a watermark here. But I also just find it interesting how there are these dots, and they seem random in placement, but I honestly don't believe they are. And I would like someone else to confirm or deny as to if these dots represent other stars and galaxies from the perspective of Earth. Okay, let's scroll back down to the orbital diagram. Looking at this orbital diagram, People have made many assumptions as to what this actually is, whether or not it's the Ellen in alignment or whatnot. And in regards to that, I must say that I live in the northeastern part of the United States, and for the past 3 weeks, I have not had an opportunity to observe the sky and or the sun during the day because, ironically enough, it's been too cloudy to do so. So I have not had the opportunity to observe Elenin or its supposed remnants thereof. So let's focus on our portal here. There's the portal. People are like, what is this? What is this portal? Well, if we take a look at the other side of the bill, which I'm about to pull up, there's the bill. Oh. Here's the bill. Let's zoom in to about approximately the same size. And here we have a whole list of all these other orbs. I have A's and B's and C's in some places. Some are looped together, somewhat similar to a Venn diagram. You all know what those are if you went to grade school. But of all the other portals, here we have one that resembles one on the other side of the bill. And this might be difficult for you YouTubers to see this, but this portal perfectly lines up with the portal on this side of the bill. So if you take the bill and drill a hole through the bill, and this is evidenced by this crease in the bill, that this portal matches up exactly with this portal on the other side. You can see how there's like a darker crease in the center, just a further verification. You can see there's the darker spot of it, and it's close to that center of this huge crease right here. So it's definitely verified that if you drill a hole through this portal, you see it on the other side of the bill. Okay, let's flip back a few more times. That's definitely, without question, it's supposed to mean something, and it's blatantly obvious that a lot of time was spent into the construction and design of this bill. It is my belief that everything, every line in this bill means something. And for someone to say, no, it's all for counterfeiting purposes, I highly doubt that, because there seems to be a significantly greater reason for all these particular intricacies that this bill contains. All these lines are tangential to this circle, which happens to end right here. So we have a circle here, and it just ends right there. So that appears to be about 90 degrees worth of a circle. And then you can see that towards the top, if you zoom in a little bit. Everything here has a purpose. And switching back to the orbital diagram on the other side, this is what we should be most concerned about, because this bill is trying to tell us that between the orbits of this planet and this planet exists a portal to some other place in the universe. And here again we have all these vertical and horizontal lines, which I also believe are some kind of representation of some kind of modulation with some kind of encoded message. But it's beyond my expertise to even attempt to decode that message. But there is without question a method to the madness behind this bill. So I received this bill about 24 hours ago, and these are the first observations that I've I've come across within my first few hours of looking at enhanced pictures, high resolution of this bill, and I will most certainly be coming back to you guys with more findings as far as high resolution observation of this bill is concerned. So stay tuned for updates. Bilderberggroup.info. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and I hope to see you back in my channel. Thanks. Have a good evening.